Let's do the daily delivery debate with Velle Neal III today. Velle, how you doing?
And those well, how's everything with you?
I'm good. I just realized looking at myself we got the two-person split here. I've kind of let the beard go a little bit. I've got a flannel on today. I've got kind of like a 90s grunge vibe
I
going on
see.
now.
Yeah, you kind of letting the hair getting a little bushier than normal.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're kind of letting it go. So I don't know if is that your hockey beard you're trying to work on or what?
Maybe,
Playoff beard?
maybe. Which is Lavelle. That's a tremendous segue into topic number one on the debate today, which is the Wild. Last two playoff series coming in before this season. They were, I believe, eliminated in 6 games. Both of those, they took a 2-1 series lead, only to lose 4-2. Stop me if you've heard this. This year, took a 2-1 series lead. Now they've lost 2 straight overtime games to Vegas in varying degrees of heartbreak. The one at XL, I believe they were 31-0 this season when leading after 2 periods, lost that game. And then in Vegas, have a goal disallowed by a senseless offsides with 75 seconds left that could have given them the win. Lavelle, the question for you is, it feels a lot like the same old Wild. Is it the same old Wild to you?
I think the tortured long-time Minnesota sports fan may feel like, oh, here we go again. This is like all the disastrous losses that we've incurred through the years, being dominated by the Yankees in the baseball. Missing an extra point in the playoffs, missing a 27-yard field goal that would have advanced the Vikings at Huntington Bank Stadium.
Yes.
Other wild mix-ups.
We don't need to drag everybody through all of this. We get it though.
Yeah, I can get that because if the last generation of Twin Cities sports fans or Minnesota sports fans have nothing to show for their investment. There's been no titles, unless you count the Lynx,
which we do. But yes, of when we consider what is still considered the 4 major professional men's leagues, nothing since the Twins since '91.
No, I'm not. And they're the team they're the franchise that probably takes the most bashing, and they're the ones that most are the last one to win the title.
Yes.
No, I don't think it's the same old Wild. I think this is a pretty good team. You definitely have a guy who in Kirill Kaprizov, who's a top 15 talent. Boldy has come alive in the postseason.
Yeah, he's been great.
Once he's been paired with Kaprizov, I still watch this Wild team play Vegas, and there are stretches in which they have Vegas pinned down on their own end. They're buzzing the net. They're using the forecheck, and they're getting shots on goal. There's great vision on this team, some fantastic passing. I mean, everybody talks about Kaprizov's pass to Boldy a couple of games ago. That Eck pass last night to Boldy was excellent as well. Yes. Almost a blind backhand to the outside of the rink to get Boldy loose. And Boldy looked like Luka Doncic dragging a Wolves defender to the basket.
Except he didn't fall down.
No, he didn't fall down. He ended up scoring.
Luka would have fallen down.
Possibly. He may have still made the shot, though. So I think there's some stretches here where there's some things about the Wild that worries the Golden Knights, and they have to be prepared for that. Jack Eichel has shown up more in these last 2 games, which is very troubling. I forget how big and powerful he is, and he's a one-man forecheck. He kind of keeps a puck on their end all by himself. I don't know how many times I saw that last night.
Yeah.
But I just think Gustafson's a really good goaltender. They got solid D in front of them. It's a good team. It's not the 7th best team in the Western Conference. They're much better than that. The only reason they're 7th is because they had long-term injuries to Harrison Eck and Kaprizov. I am not going to say that Wild are going to Wild. I still think this is a team that can win Game 6 and at least force a Game 7. And I wrote about it in my column that's being posted here the next half an hour. They're prided on themselves and learning from what they went through during the regular season. And that is they played a lot of close games. I counted 5 games that were decided by 2-1 scores. And I believe the Wild twice won 1-0. And it's hard to play a 1-0 game in NHL in this day and age. So I just think that what Kaprizov coming back at full throttle, Eck being healthy, and Bodie stepping up, thriving on being on the same line, they definitely present a problem to opponents like the Golden Knights. So I expect them to win on Thursday.
I think you're right. I also think until they win, it is absolutely fair to say same old Wild. Even if this looks different and feels different, right? Like this 3-2 feels different than some of the other 3-2s, especially the one to Dallas a couple of years ago where it was just slipping away and you could feel like Dallas was clearly the better team. I think Vegas is still the better team, but if the Wild can win Thursday night, which I agree with you, I think that's certainly a strong possibility. Send this to a game 7, even if they don't win that game. I'm willing to say, okay, they're building something more here. If they lose that one, though, I think everyone's going to say, same old Wild, and I'm not necessarily going to disagree with them because this is the playoffs. This is how the games go in the playoffs. Close doesn't matter. Close is nice. Close means maybe you're getting better, that you're approaching it, but it's also everything's a vacuum. Like you can't waste what Boldy's doing. You can't waste what Kaprizov is doing. You can't waste what Foligno's doing. And yeah, you had to bring Fleury in because Gustafsson got sick during that last game, which was maybe a piece of what was going on. But until proven otherwise, that's still the default, and I still think it's fair, even if it looks different right now.
Well, I think that a lot of this will be told during the upcoming off season once the purse strings are opened up for Billy G to add to the roster. Plus, apparently the salary cap in NHL is going to go up like by a decent percentage for a change. So there's going to be flexibility there to add because you don't want to waste Kaprizov. I think he's already 28.
He is 28. Yeah, we keep thinking of him as young. He's not young because he got here when he was,
he's right 20. There in his prime. So you got to take advantage of prime Kaprizov. Let me ask you this: prime Kaprizov, is he better than prime Gaborik? Is he better than prime Koivu?
Yes, he is. I think he's definitely better than both. I think Gaborik was more one-dimensional than Kaprizov is. Gaborik was a gifted player, no doubt about it, but Kaprizov is every bit as gifted, but more tenacious and can play both ways a little bit better. And Koivu is a very good two-way player, but he's not nearly the skill of Kaprizov. Kaprizov is already the best player in franchise history.
I was going to say, that's what we're talking about. So you can't waste prime Kaprizov under those circumstances.
Agreed.
And I'm looking for Billy G, not Billy Jean, Billy G, to add to the roster. Brock Baser, get ready for your introductory press.
You're on the Baser train. Is there room enough for another Brock? Because they're going to have to pay Brock Faber pretty soon too, and they got to get that Kaprizov extension done. So some of that money's going to get sucked up into those two buckets. But you're right, there should be room for more.
That's you were talking about Brock Nelson there for a second.
Yeah, we got lots of Brocks, on this team. We'll see. This is a 2 Brock town, a 3 Brock town. I don't know. We'll see. It's a 1 Brock town right now, Lavelle. Hey, I want to talk about the Lynx also, because something just caught my eye this week, and it's been 6 months since the WNBA finals ended in heartbreak for them. Game 5, we had what could have been a traveling call, could have been a no call on a foul on a shot by Brandon Stewart, where she gets sent to the line. New York scores. There's all sorts of pro New York conspiracies. The commissioner is wearing a Empire State Building dress, if I'm not mistaken, like all sorts of stuff from that game. It's 6 months later and they're still talking about it. Is this just, are they hanging on to this for a little too long? They're calling it trauma. They're saying they're going to use it in a good way. I'm a little bit worried right now though, that they're still living too much in what happened in that moment.
Only if they channel it the wrong way, then I got problems with it. As long as they channel it the right way. If you want to come into a season, trust me, I covered a few Twins teams that would have this opinion.
Yeah.
But if you want to come into a season making people pay for stuff that happened the previous year, I'm good with that. I'm good for having a chip on your shoulder that way. And I believe the Lynx have every right to be angry at how that game went. We saw how everything went with the calls down the stretch. It wasn't just that one call. There's a couple others as well. Of course, it goes back to the old adage about put yourself in a position to avoid being screwed over by bad calls. I mean, you can still look at yourself and what you could have done better. in those situations. But some of that stuff was out of their control. And it was just an awful look for the commissioner to show up dressed as a statue.
Yes.
I mean, I can't believe she had the audacity to do that. It did make it appear as if you don't, as Kent pointed out in the story, the league's Twitter page actually said the trophy is coming home to where it belongs.
Yeah.
That had to
Not
be
good.
down.
Not good. Not
So
good.
yeah, so just some bad signals and bad looks coming out of that whole experience. If they're going to galvanize themselves and fortify themselves and circle the wagons and say we're just going to run through the schedule and destroy everybody and steamroll to the championship, then more power to them. I just don't want them to use it as a crutch for everything that goes wrong this year. I hope not, because this should be a better team. Should be a little deeper team. Diamond Miller being healthy and removed from her surgery should help. I think Jessica Shepard coming back from Europe is a big deal because she averaged 7 rebounds a game and started a bunch of games for the Lynx when she was here a couple of years ago. And she definitely could be because we always thought it seemed like last year they were always short one big player.
Yeah,
I thought that's when they made the trade for the player from Washington during the season, try to add some post scoring and rebound, and they had it with Shepard, and they signed they added a French center, right?
Yes, I believe that's true.
I like the sharpshooter they traded for. This is a team worth liking, and Cheryl actually said force us to carry 12 players, which is a big deal in the WNBA because they can spread the money out better if they have an 11-player roster than 12. But if they're that deep and that talented and they're willing to go that route, I like the Lynx chances of returning to the finals.
I do too. I just don't want them to get caught up, like you said, in too much grievance. If you can channel it, that's fine. If it becomes everything that goes against you is somebody else's fault, or
here we go again. Yeah.
What's that?
Here we go again. That's going to be that. If they use that as an excuse, then I got problems.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we tend to agree on that one. We're a little bit in disagreement on the Wild, but we'll agree to disagree on whether it's the same old Wild. Last one, Velle. Vikings draft grades. People don't like it. The pundits don't like it. Take them for what they're worth. A lot of bottom 5 in the league draft grades. Now, some of this, Lavelle, is because obviously they didn't have a lot of picks. They certainly didn't have as many picks as your Bears did. They ended up with 5 of them, including the 24th overall. But Lavelle, the reason they didn't have a lot of picks is they traded them all away last year. So I think the draft grades are warranted, and I still think Kwesi is a little bit unnoticed here. What do you think?
Of course, we won't know until 2 or 3 years down the road whether these drafts are great. The farther we get removed from Kwesi's draft, the worse and worse it looked because I don't think he drafted a single player that who is with the team, let alone get offered a second contract. And now we have to look at that class after that one to see. To me, that's a sign of how good a draft is. If those guys warrant a second contract, then you did the right thing. And if they're not, then that's on you. But I don't think the Vikings draft is that bad. I think a lot of these pundits are criticizing the draft because of the low number of players.
The volume.
I liked the first round pick, the guard from Ohio State. I think he's going to help. I think it completes the overhaul of the offensive line. He's got some experience at tackle, although he won't be needed to play tackle in the NFL unless there's a super emergency. But you like that that he could possibly be available if you really need him in a pinch. So he's got talent. Now, I hope he's better than Wyatt Davis, the last lineman they drafted from Ohio State, because that didn't turn out good. The only thing about Wyatt was his dad like in a movie or something? That was his claim to fame, I believe.
I think that's right. Was that the 2021 draft where the last Spielman draft and they took all those guys and that was the third round of the draft that caused Zimmer to walk out, right? It was Kellen Mond, Chaz Surratt, Wyatt Davis, and Patrick Jones the second in the third round. Patrick Jones ended up being a productive player, but Mond, Chaz Surratt, and Wyatt Davis at 66, 78, and 86. Not great.
No, I always believe a coach and a GM should be in lockstep of what they're going to do. And the GM's going to tell your offensive coach, hey, I got to take care of the defense with this pick. You're just going to wait. And the guy has to understand that. I hope Kwesi and KLC have that same belief. Although the first two picks were offensive guys, right?
4 out of the 5 were offensive guys, I think.
Yeah. So that's in the Vikings circumstances. That is because of Kwesi's work in the free agent market, trying to find defensive players that fit B-Flow's system, which he continues to do. But the wide receiver from Maryland, I think his name was Ty Felton. They needed a receiver because we don't know how long Jordan Addison is going to be suspended for. Frankly, I don't know how long Jordan Addison is going to be with the Vikings. He gives off some negative vibes to me. But they needed a wide receiver. They went to Maryland. I believe that was where Stephon Diggs went to school.
Correct. Fifth rounder.
The Maryland route again.
Yes.
Felton is from the head coach of Maryland's Mike Locksley, who used to be offensive coordinator at Illinois when Juice Williams was there. So I'm familiar with Mike Locksley and his desire to throw the football. So Felton's he's coming in there from a pro style system, and I think he'll have a chance to adapt very quickly and contribute very well. So the first two picks I can't complain with. I really can't. I don't know, the fifth round defensive lineman. I mean, once you start getting into the fifth round, you're just hoping to hit. You want to be able to plug and play your first rounder. You're hoping that your second and third rounders become starters. But once you get beyond the third round, then you're just hoping to strike gold and get lucky with a couple spots. And so now once you get down to 5 and 6, they fielded a tight end spot. They got a defensive lineman, which they needed some depth there. The linebacker from Penn State, he looks like he's more of a special teams guy right now than anything. But when you add it up, I can't say that this draft sucked. I just can't.
No, but the quantity wasn't there. Basically, what we'll end up judging this on, right, is like if McCarthy and Dallas Turner, the guys that they ostensibly burned all of the 2025 picks, working to trade up, trading up to make sure they had its opportunity to draft those guys. If those guys hit, if they contribute this year, nobody will care that they didn't have a second, third, and fourth rounder this year. But the reason they didn't was because of all that they did. So the 2025 draft and the 2024 draft are still very much linked. Maybe an incomplete draft grade is a more fair one at this point, but those guys have to hit for me to feel okay about everything they did in these last 2 years.
Meanwhile, the Bears trade with Carolina is finally completed with this draft.
Okay.
For the number 1 pick in 2023, which was Bryce Young.
Right.
Bears got DJ Moore. They got a 2023 first round pick, which ended up being their starting right tackle, Darnell Wright.
Mm-hmm.
A 2023 second round pick that ended up being Tyreek Stevenson, who starts and irritates, but he starts.
He was the guy that was looking the wrong way, right?
That's the Washington game. The 2024 first round pick, which was Caleb Williams, and this 2025 second round pick, which was Luther Burden, the slot receiver from Missouri. So they've already won this trade.
That's a pretty good haul. Yeah, jury's out on Caleb Williams this year, but they've given him every opportunity to succeed now with the right head coach, plenty of weapons around him, right?
The Bears have said, screw it, we're just going to score points. They drafted a tight end and a wide receiver their first 2 picks.
I had him drafting a tight end, but I was the wrong one. I did that mock draft where I was the Bears, and I had him taking the guy from Penn State, Tyler Warren, but they took the Michigan guy.
Funny part, I was talking to a buddy. I was like, man, I think Tyler Warren could be like the next Dallas Clark. And the Bears pass him up. And who takes him? The team that had Dallas Clark.
Dallas Clark, yeah. Well.
Like, oh, man.
We'll see. We'll give the Vikings incomplete for now, but we're complete. Lavelle, we're done for the day. Appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for having me.